Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tiffany in the sunshine. Now, perfection is the enemy of progress. Start with what you have. Now, I've had 2 coffees today and some chocolate fudge, so I'm experiencing a sugar rush, which means I'm going to be a bit more giddy and excitable than I usually am, but that's not a bad thing. Now, perfection. I was thinking about the actor Matthew McConaughey, what he had to say for his 2014 Oscar acceptance speech. And he said, I have 3 things I need in a day. One is something to look up to, which is God. The second is something to look forward to, which is my family. And the third is someone to chase. And for him, someone to chase, it's the 10 to 15 year version of himself, which he believes it probably will never catch up with. But in theory, it allows him to become better over time and to progress as a person. And I thought that concept really ties in well with the idea of perfection, because naturally we want to wait until we're perfect before we start anything. But actually, you can only be perfect, or at least aim for perfection, in the process of doing, the process of trying, in the process of moving. After all, motion is momentum. So when you're actually waiting for the perfect time or for the perfect condition or for you to be perfectly ready, that exactly is the root of how perfection is the enemy of progress. And then when I was thinking about the whole topic, I thought, okay, actually, how do we actually move past that mental block? How do we get ourselves ready to actually start making, to actually start sort of gaining momentum in life? One idea that came to me is practice gratitude as a way to take an inventory. Now, often we forget what's good in our lives, and I think gratitude is how we can sort of gain that back, that mindset back. I was thinking about the Bible story where God was speaking to Moses, and God said, I'm going to send you to save the Israelites. And of course, Moses was dumbfounded and thought, I'm definitely not the right person for the job. But the next question really blew my mind. God said, what is in your hand? And I thought, wow, how often do we ask ourselves, what is in my hands? Not what do I wish was in my hands, or what is in other people's hands, but actually what's good in my life. Learn to count our own blessings, because it's only when you can count your blessings that you can start to recognize the potential of what's already good in your life. What are your advantages? How does your experience shape you for the future? How does your experience put you in a position where you're actually the right person to start something, to create something? And even if in our sort of negative or tragic experiences, I think when we can look at them through the right lenses, we can actually begin to see an equivalent seed of opportunity. So I dare you to take an inventory today and ask what's good in my life, because that may be the root of your progress. And after all, I think someone else can take what you think is nothing and actually make something of it. Now, the second idea that I think links well with also perfection being an enemy of progress is that there is no growing unless you are going. We never sort of end up where we start, right? And even when I look at myself, an example, 5 to 6 years ago, I was a law student who was quite a little bit insecure, a little bit not very confident. I was still figuring things out, very, very indecisive. And, take now where I'm running a business, I'm living life in a much more authentic way. I'm pursuing my goals. I'm making mistakes. I'm sort of pushing myself out of my comfort zone on a daily basis. I'm taking opportunities, and I think what's got me here wasn't kind of theory. It was just trying things. It was making mistakes. It was my failure. It was swerving, like Michelle Obama says. It was just a process of actually starting, making movement, actually daring myself to try and, fail, make mistakes, but get up and start all over again. And I think that's the idea, is that we can only become as we practice things. It's not theory that allows us to grow. It's actually practice. It's trying. It's moving forward. It's daring to actually see whether something works or it doesn't. Because the greatest lessons are in our experiences. That's the only way we can change. It's when we actually try things and experience it for ourselves, rather than the theory side of it. And finally, I think the concept that also ties in well with perfection be the enemy of progress, is that you have to be willing to pay the price. I think there is nothing worth having that will not cost you something. I think about, our lives right now, whatever your life is right now, it's a total sum of your behaviors, of your belief system, of your habits. And you have to change something about those things if you actually want a different reality or different circumstances. But that in itself is quite uncomfortable, and that's the cost, that's the price we have to pay. So for example, if you want a better financial management, you actually have to maybe learn to delay your gratification, learn to not buy everything that you really want or you've convinced yourself that you need. If you think about wanting to maybe quit your job, one day and start a business, you have to learn to invest in yourself. You have to learn to, less of a consuming mindset and more of a creative mindset. Spend more time reading books, speaking to the right people, learning about the industry you want to go into. And those are that's the price you have to pay. If, for example, you want a better relationship, you have to learn to forgive other people. You have to learn to develop your communication skills. You have to learn to maybe say sorry, even when and not allow your pride to get in the way. So there's a cost with everything. But I think when we accept that there's a cost, I think it allows us to actually begin to make progress, simply because we're now in that sort of sacrificial mindset where what we want is actually worth the price we have to pay. And that's it. I think starting is definitely the hardest part of anything. But if you're waiting to be perfect, or your insecurities getting in the way of you starting, then you simply will never realize what your life could be. I'll leave you with some wise words from Confucius. Confucius. Well, I always get that confused, but I write it down in the description box. It said, "It's better to be a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without." So what will you choose today? And that's it. Always remember that life rewards those who live intentionally. Thanks for joining me, guys, and see you soon.